Welcome back to Government Workforce Analytics, Insight, and Impact, sponsored by Microsoft here on federalnewsradio.com and Federal News Radio 1500 AM. My guest in this segment is Betsy Appleby, the Chief Operating Officer of Permuta Technologies. I'm your host, Tom Temin. And Betsy, let's talk about the company itself, a little bit of history, the technology approaches that you have, and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay, sure. Permuta Technologies was established in 1999. And
so you've been at this a while.
We've been at it a while. We've been doing, we started out doing custom development for DoD customers and a few commercial customers. And about 10 years ago, Permuta decided to look for a platform to bring all of its capabilities to take it to a broader market within DoD and the federal government.
So you were focused on DoD primarily?
Primarily
on
DoD.
Beginning.
And what we've done is, I would say the majority of our business is in DoD, although we have a couple of non-DoD customers as well.
And what are the pain points that your DoD and civilian customers bring to you that they need solved?
The customers at an operational level need data. They need to have access to data, and they need it in one place so that they can make informed decisions about the organization's readiness and a deeper understanding of their workforce and whether or not they can accomplish their missions. What we find is that organizations have a lot of data from Class 1 systems of record, and they have a lot of data that they create locally at an operational level, but they have no mechanism for bringing it all together for a single view. And that's what Defense Ready does for our customers.
Yeah, it seems like from what we're hearing, and especially speaking with Mark Valentine also, is that in many ways, agencies are drowning in data. There's no lack of data, but turning it into actionable information in a reasonable time frame seems to be what the real challenge is.
Yes, and we've got a lot of customers that come back to us after we've done an implementation with some good news stories about how we've shaved off time. I think Mark mentioned earlier that some organizations spend hundreds of hours putting together PowerPoints for that single command briefing or that update to the commander. And what we have now are many of our customers are just using Defense Ready, pulling it up on the screen in the Ops Center and briefing from there so that the data is dynamic. It's not, 2 days old because that's when the PowerPoint was submitted.
And are there any technical limitations to the original data sources that are available to Defense Ready? That is to say, suppose I have an old, ancient DB2 database or a flat file database that might have crucial information. Can the product pull from those as well as the latest relational databases?
Sure. Yeah, Defense Ready can pull in data from all sorts of sources, legacy as well as the more modern technologies, and we do that all the time. What we try to do at the operational level is to bring, when we go in to do an implementation, bring in all the data that's in little silos within databases or spreadsheets managed by individual organizations into a central view. And then we negotiate with our customers, with the Class 1 service systems to bring in that data as well.
So basically, as long as it's machine readable, you can get at it.
That's right.
So, because spreadsheets, when you said spreadsheets, that can be a red light, in some cases for enterprise operating systems.
Oh, Tom, it's unbelievable. We go into some of the most significant operational organizations in DoD, and they are using some of the most primitive methods for keeping track of their readiness. So when I say spreadsheets, they're really using them.
They're really using them. So it sounds like Defense Ready, in effect, virtualizes all of those disparate resources in front of the user.
That's right.
All right, and what about the users? I mean, who would benefit from this functionally throughout an organization?
So Defense Ready really, if there was a perfect customer for us, it's a joint organization who deploys often, who's got a high ops tempo kind of mission. Today we work with several of those, and just kind of for reference, in 2016, the U.S. military, both conventional and special operations forces, deployed to over 128 countries last year. And I think that's about 70% of the world's countries that we've had a presence in. So we can help those organizations that are out there deploying to understand what their purse tempo is. That's a phrase that became a little popular in the last several years because of the demand of the war and the fact that the forces were fraying, so to speak. There was a lot of concern all the way from the White House down to the combatant commands and the operational levels about the purse tempo and the impact of the war and constant deployments on the troops.
So having that fine-grained knowledge of each individual troop's abilities and capabilities and readiness to deploy for this or that mission becomes more and more critical as these deployments grind on.
That's right. So what we found are there's different ratios which can change over time based on demand and the operational missions, but they like to have a 2-to-1 ratio for organizations to be in what they call dwell and not deployed, to be able to refuel and retrain and get ready for the next mission. And what we saw over the last 15 years, that was not the case. The ops tempos were much higher than that. But they had no way of planning.
Right. So the data that they need is that which applies to tens or maybe many tens of thousands of individuals.
That's right. So the other value, I think, of Defense Ready is a lot of organizations, when you would talk to them, when we would go in, they would talk about ops tempo and purse tempo as if they were two distinctly different concepts. And what we see in organizations that we've been in for the past 5-10 years, they've brought together organizational readiness with individual readiness.
So that's really the point here. Our topic is analytics, and so give some examples of the types of analytical queries that, say, a commander could make, or even someone in the Pentagon could make, to understand what that workforce, that deployed workforce, that uniform force, should be properly used for, or can be.
Right. So in Defense Ready, you can see an individual's assignment history, their deployments. You can see organizations and task forces, what they've done, what capabilities they have, where they've got holes and gaps currently and also in the future for future projections. You can.
This is for organizations and individuals.
Yes, for organizations and individuals. So a commander can look. An individual or a few individuals can throw off the readiness of that organization because some of the task forces that deploy are actually very small. 10-man teams are going out. So in terms of some of the queries, it would be who's deployed, who has not deployed in the last 12 months, who's got jump qualifications and certifications, who can speak whatever language for that area of responsibility.
So it sounds like with the right analytics, you can not only get a group that is ready, but you can also assemble a group that's more effective.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, definitely. And what we're seeing now, a lot of our customers were trying to get their arms around what it is, and now we're seeing a lot of what-if scenarios and future projections associated with their use of Defense Ready, more future planning.
All right, interesting. We're going to take a short break here. Let me thank Betsy Appleby, Chief Operating Officer at Bermuda Technologies. It was good having you.
Thank you.
I'm Tom Temin. This is Government Workforce Analytics, Insight and Impacts, sponsored by Microsoft here on federalnewsradio.com and Federal News Radio 1500 AM.